Dominant. All right. I think this game, going into it, I think there was a lot of talk, even myself included, that I thought Flacco, the Browns, a little bit more of a veteran leadership there, and they would maybe come away with a victory. CJ Stroud, not sure if he had, if the inexperience would cause him to have a bit of a shaky game, and that was not the case at all. I think, if anything, I feel like the Texans' youth, they're, being young, they just had speed, right? This game, especially on like the defensive edge, like Barnett, Will Anderson. I mean, these guys had a huge impact on the game. I think you look at Houston's pass rush, right? Especially like I think against the Browns tackles, that was a big part of this game, and the pressure they put on Flacco, he looked uncomfortable throughout a lot of the game. I thought that he wasn't able to really play the way, we've seen him play. And I think that Houston defense, big credit to them, the way that they just poured it on. And it was like, it seemed like drive after drive, Flacco and the Browns were just pressured. And also it seemed like they weren't ever able to get that momentum and that rhythm because of the pressure, and you almost kind of just saw Flacco like a little hesitant there, when by what, halfway through the game, and kind of the Texans were running away with it, but like there was such an impact that this pass rush had on the Browns, I think right from the get go, and it was huge, and you got to credit the Houston defense for that, but also I think you really got to look at just the Texans. You got to look at CJ Stroud, right? CJ Stroud, that offense, they were surgical in this game. I thought, there was a use of a lot of crossing routes. They really used their speed against the Browns, like man-to-man coverage, I think, for the most part. I mean, there were some, really key players missing by the Texans, but there wasn't a whole lot of drop off in terms of offensive production, right? I mean, Nico Collins, I thought, stepped up huge. I think there were a lot of splash plays by the Texans before halftime, right? And I think that was a big part in them growing that lead. And then, what else can you say about the CJ Stroud? I think this year he has shown that without a doubt, there was a lot of talk between Bryce Young coming into this year and just like going into the draft and whether or not it'd be Young or Stroud or whoever, Will Levis too. Like I think CJ Stroud by miles and miles is so far better performer in terms of rookies and draft picks this year, and it has a lot to do with the people around him. It has a lot to do with the coaching staff. So that all factors into it. But I just think him and himself, just the way that he's carried himself, the way that he has taken control of this team, this offense, and just the leadership has been awesome. And also just he's got skill, like legitimate skill and talent. It's not just he's not just in there being a benefit of the system. Like he is benefiting from the system, but he himself is also really a huge part of their success. So that's really great to see. And I think, in this game, a big part of it, in my opinion, with the struggles that the Browns face was, you look at the key factor going into the game that was going to help the Browns win. Honestly, would have been their defense. At least I thought, right? I mean, Flacco for sure, he's been playing really, really well, but I thought the Browns defense, specifically Myles Garrett, would have been the big key factor and the difference maker in this game, but he didn't really make a huge difference in this game, and he wasn't really like that evident or present in a bunch of the the drives there, and there was just a lack of pressure on CJ Stroud. He didn't really sack him that much, or at all, I don't think. And I do believe that, without that pressure that they were to put on Stroud, without that impact that the defense was able to make, it was a big part of them not being able to generate or stop the Texans from generating a lot of offense and things like that. And also, look at Joe Flacco, 2 pick sixes. You're not going to get a whole lot of success in this league or even in the playoffs when that's the case. So a rough outing for them. I think we all knew it had to end at some point in time, this little run that Flacco had. And look, credit to him. Like, it's been fun to watch Flacco perform with the way that he has and do it at this level and kind of drive the Browns into the playoffs with this way. Sucks that it had to end this way. It wasn't even like really that much of a close game, but I do, I do think that like he can probably find a spot next year on a team that needs a little bit of a veteran backup, and just give him opportunity, and who knows what can happen, right? So, but overall, I think this game kind of showed just how incredible C.J. Stroud was, and how he performed this playoffs, this season, and we'll see what they can do. We'll see what damage they can do. I do believe they're going up against the Ravens this upcoming matchup with them as they move on. You have no idea. This playoffs has been pretty unpredictable. With the Cowboys losing the way they did, anything can happen, I think, in the playoffs, which just makes it pretty incredible. So we'll see how the Texans kind of match up and square up against the Ravens, but it's gonna be a tough task for them. They're definitely much different team than the Browns, and so we'll see how the Texans do. But for now, I thought that was an incredible performance by the Texans. So much credit to Stroud, D'Amico Ryan, and I think they did such an incredible job there. And we'll see what in store for them in that next round.